Welcome back. So today we'll be talking about managing Azure resources by using Azure portal, and the model is Azure administration. So if we check the architecture, this is what we are going to do today. So coming to the task 1, we're going to create a resource group and deploy the resources to that resource group. And coming to the task 2, we'll move the resources between this resource group, and the task 3 would be implementing and testing the resource logs. So initially we'll be creating a disk. Okay, I think it's not working. 1 second. Okay, where is it? Okay, yeah. So okay. So initially we'll be creating this particular disk, and inside this particular resource group, then we'll move this particular disk to other resource group, that is task 1 and 2. And coming to the task 3, we'll use the other new resource group called RG3, and inside that there will be a disk, and we'll try to keep a delete log and test whether we can delete that particular resource or not. So saying that, let's jump into the video. So if I go back, so let's start with the task 1, so in which you have to click the disk. So you can just search disks here, and you can see there is a column called disks. Click that, and let's go ahead and create a new disk because there are no disks present. So I'm just creating a new one. Select appropriate subscription, and coming to the resource group, let me paste the resource group. So since I don't have any resource group related to that, I'll create a new one and add this resource group. So this is the first resource group according to the doc. According to this architecture, you can see it's AZ10403A-RG1. So this is the first resource group inside which our disk will be present. So coming to the disk name, let me add that too. And region, we will be always working with East US, so I'm just skipping East US. And availability zone, none, so I'm just leaving it as default. And if I go back, so it's premium, so I have to change it to standard HDD. Click that, and so the size would be 32. So click OK. So it's done. Now let's go ahead and review and create it. So you can check other options too, but according to the docs we don't require them, so I'm just going and reviewing and creating it. So validation has been passed because there is no policies which are restricting this. So I'll just create. So it has been so it's in the process. So you can see in the task 1, this is completed. So under this particular resource group we have disk 1. Now we have to move this to another resource group called RG2. So it's done. You can see under this particular resource group we have this disk. So now we have to move this resource group. So for that, if I go back to the resource groups, let's search for resource group. And here we have the resource group that we have created. Click that, and so here somewhere we should have check the resource group. So here you can see there is a move option, so click that. So move to another resource group, move to another subscription, move to another region. So in this case we'll be moving to another resource group according to the template. So if you see, this is the source resource group, in which it's in subscription 1 under RG1 resource group. So coming to resource group 2, we don't have any. These are all the default ones, so let me create a one. So let me paste the resource group from the GitHub, which is RG2. So if I paste this, you can see this is the resource group that we have created. Now this particular disk will be moving to this particular resource group. So okay, it's already present. No, resource group name can only be included in alpha. Okay, so it's done. Let's click OK, and let's go to the next. So this is the resource inside that particular resource group. So checking whether this resource group can be moved. This might take a few minutes, so well, we have to wait. So well, it may take some time, so let me go back and let me go to the task 3, where we'll be creating another resource called RG3, inside which there is another called disk 2, and we'll try to implement the delete log. So if we talk about the logs, there are two types of logs. One is read only and the other one is delete log. So if you talk about read-only log, it's something similar to assigning a reader role for the users. So the authorized users will not be able to modify the resource, but they can only read from the resource. If we talk about the delete log, so the authorized users will be able to read and modify the resource, but they cannot delete it. So that is the main difference between the read-only as well as the delete log. In this lab, we'll be performing the delete log, but however you can try the read-only log as well. So saying that, let's go back and let me follow the GitHub where the task 3 is implementing the resource logs. So similarly, I'll be going to disks. Well, we have one disk which is in resource 1. So let me create another disk. So under subscription resource group, in this case we have to create a new resource group according to the architecture that we have seen. So okay, so let's go ahead and create a new one. Add the resource group, which is RG3. Click OK, and coming to the disk name, this is disk 2 according to the architecture that we have seen before. So central will be going with the East US, none, and this will be changed to 32. So if I click here, it's 32, and it's not the premium, it's standard HDD. So if I click, that should be fine for now. So click OK. So it's done, and you can create it. So as I said before, you can repeat other options too, but according to this lab, it doesn't require, so I'm just reviewing and creating it. So validation has been passed because there is no restrictions for creating this disk. So let me create this. So now it's in process. So we are done with task 3 first part, where we have created the resource group as well as disk 2 inside that particular resource group. Now we have to apply the logs. So in this case, we'll be applying the delete log. So if I go to the resources, so here somewhere under settings, you can see there is a log section for this disk 2. So if I click logs, right now there are no logs associated with this particular disk. So let me add one. So coming to the name, let me add this name here. So this is the name, and coming to the log type, we have read only and delete. So in this case, we'll be choosing the delete one, and you can write any notes if you want. Well, I'll just write. So that's it. So click OK. So the delete log will be applied for this particular disk. So if I go back to the overview and let me try to delete this particular disk. So what do you think, like we'll be getting error or not? So for sure we'll be getting an error because there is a logs associated with this disk. So if I click delete, yes, so you can see it's failed to delete this disk. So you can read this. So there is a logged. You can read this to get more information. So however, I cannot delete this resource group. However, I can do some modifications. So if I go back to the resource groups, and here let's say size and performance, and here we have standard. So if I change it to, let's say it's 32, let's go with 64 and click resize. You can see successfully it has been updated. So we can do changes but cannot delete it because there is a delete log. So now it's done. So if you try to delete it, so let me check the architecture. Yeah, so if you try to delete, you have to first remove the log. So we have this log. Let me delete this log. Now let's try to delete this particular disk. Now it will be done because there is no log associated with this particular disk. So you can see it's taking time, so obviously it will be deleting. Done. So you can see successfully we have deleted this disk. So let's check the task 2. I think yes. So now we can move the resources. Let's go to the next, and I understand. So the source subscription is subscription 1, and the resource group is RG1, and this RG1 is transferred to RG2. So the resources inside this RG1 will be transferred to RG2. So right now we have only one disk, so it will be transferred to RG2. So let's click move. So it's starting the process. So we'll check. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and delete this. So how it's deleted. Let's go ahead and delete this resource group as well. So if I go back here, we have resource group 3 in which we don't have any resources. So let me delete this resource group because deleting resource group. So let me type this resource group name and let me delete it. So deleting the resource group. So let me refresh it. Well, it takes some time, but you can see it's still in process. So if I go back here, so coming to RG1, well, I think I deleted RG3. Yeah, I deleted RG3. Why can't I see RG2 here? So let me go back and let me refresh. Yeah, because it was from the first one. So if I refresh now, let's go to the RG2. still it's not there, still it's in process. Moving the resource, you can see still it's in process. So let's wait for a few more seconds and let's see. So once the process is done, this particular disk will be inside this resource group. So this is how you can move the resource group from one resource group to another resource group. Well, since it's taking some time, let me show you the read-only as well. So if I go back to the resource one, oh, it's already gone. So in the resource 2, okay, it's not there as well. Okay, now you can see the resource has been already transferred to the resource group 2. So we are completed with the task 1 and 2, where we have successfully moved disk 1 to another resource group. So this is how we can move. However, since I told you that I'll be showing the read only, so let me perform for this particular disk. So if I go back to the logs and let me add one, let's say read log, read only log. This is read log. Click OK. So this is specific to this particular disk 1. So if I go back to the size and performances, and if I try to change it, so let's say 62 resize, you can see there is a failure for that. So we cannot update it because right now we are just a reader, so we have only reading permission, so we can just read, but we cannot perform any operations here. So yeah, so let me delete this one as well. So if I go back to the logs, let me delete the log and let me delete the resources here. So where is the delete? Okay, first we'll delete this. So make sure you delete whenever you complete the lab, because if you forgot to delete, obviously there will be some unnecessary charges. So it has successfully deleted. Let me refresh it. It's not a deleted. It's okay. So meanwhile, let me delete this resource group because we don't have any resources. Delete. Copy this name, paste, delete. So it's in process, and I guess now it's deleted. You can see it has been deleted, and now let's delete this resource group as well because it doesn't require this resource group. Oh shit. This paste. So everything is in process, so soon it will be deleted. So we have successfully performed this architecture where we have created the storage inside the RG1, and then we moved that particular resources to the other resource group. And coming to the task 3, we have created a RG3 resource group, and inside that we have created another disk 2, and we try to implement the logs on that, and we have tested them successfully. So hope you guys have understood the concept of managing these Azure resources using this Azure portal. So if you have liked the video, please click the like button below, and if you want to subscribe to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel and please share the video. Thank you.